So I think it's got busier down here in Charlestown. It's got busier in the evenings, I think. But the businesses that have started serving more alcohol around here are intending to serve the alcohol with food as an accompaniment to the meal as they're eating. That's certainly what we've done here on the decking, and I think down in the harbour they've done very similar. And the idea is it's just something for a drink for mum or dad to have whilst they're here with the kids. Then when they've had their drink with their food, they can then move on and have a stroll around the harbour afterwards at a nice leisurely pace.
I love Charlestown, absolutely love it. Come down here regularly, so just to walk up the road. So,
so how have you seen Charlestown kind of change over the last few years?
So over the last couple of years, especially, it's got really busy. The new guys opened to more things around us and stuff, which has brought a lot more tourists down.
I feel like there's much more culture to Charlestown. There's a little bit of everything down here. Like all the bars have their own uniqueness, all the pubs have their own uniqueness, all the restaurants do their own thing as well. And I wouldn't say it's a party capital at all. I think it's definitely very much a place to go and have like a nice cultured beer and drink with your friends, really.
It's definitely got busier. I think potentially this summer has been more of a busy period due to sort of, the lockdown and people needing to sort of get out and have a holiday. So I've definitely noticed it being busier this year, but certainly over the last 5 to 6 years especially, I think that gradually it's just getting busier and busier and busier, and you're noticing an upward trend in the amount of visitors that we're getting.
What was Charlestown like when you was growing up? How has it changed in that sense?
Well, it was empty, pretty empty. There wasn't much here to do. A lot of us would come, to be honest, we were still down here drinking when we probably shouldn't have been. That hasn't changed. Except now that you have premises and people are over 18 doing it, It's the same as all coastal towns, and actually I think we're really lucky because there's so many places across the UK that are on their knees right now. This could be like Blackpool or, these areas that are full of people really struggling, and we're not. We're lucky.
There's so much more down here to do. It's become a full family environment and an all-day place. So whereas before it might have just been a kind of an evening venue for like eating and drinking, now there is the harbour's opened up, and that's like credit to sort of Colette, Matt and Jess. They've done a huge job with the boats and everything else that's going on down there. I think all the venues have kind of really upped their game as well. Like we've had to, especially at the Long Store, and it's a nice environment down here. You can't come down here and not enjoy it. Like it's a really nice place to come.
Most of the people coming down to Charlestown are families. That's what we get in the museum, it's what we get here on the decking. It's people coming down in the evenings tend to just come down and have a look around the harbour, but you always get those problem groups that come down, maybe the ones who wanted to go around the town centre and they decide they want to have a sea view whilst they're doing it.
There's always potential for maybe a little bit of trouble. You get that anywhere, but I could say that's possibly a downside, that you're going to get a lot more people drinking. But they do have bouncers on various doors and stuff, so I think that's policed quite well.
If you just make sure that you've got the right setup in place, that you're aware of any problems that are around, and you talk to the other businesses around. We talk to the other businesses to find out if there's any problems. So if there are any particular returning visitors or customers who we know could be an issue, then we all talk to each other and we'll make sure we're aware of those problems. And it's just about making sure the people who are serving those customers are aware of their responsibilities within their licences, and making sure we don't serve people who are going to be misbehaving themselves, and remind people to behave themselves.
Do you think there's anything they can improve? Is there any issues because sometimes this place has been described as a bit of a party hubbub?
I think I wouldn't like to. I think it's a double-edged sword potentially. I like it because I've got a young family and we can just walk out of our door and we've got lots of options. The beaches are nice. I do notice potentially a greater amount of litter maybe around the harbour as well. You kind of look in and see it floating around, but it would be unfair to suggest that that was due to just the visitors. I think we've got a lot of young people locally, and maybe it's not just the young people, but I think that just that additional bulk of people probably creates that. And then I've not witnessed anything personally, but I do think with maybe like these sort of younger people coming down, I've sort of heard, and I'm sort of through sort of friends and whatnot, and talking to the bar staff and the security, that there has been a little bit of additional trouble, which that's something that I'm really not keen on.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think potentially maybe St Austell not being as attractive an option, more available drinking options down here, as bringing younger people down, because maybe again it's unfair to suggest that it's just young people, but from the the sort of things I've heard, it potentially is younger people drinking, nowhere else to go, causing a bit of trouble, which I really don't like hearing about that. And that is one big issue for me personally, with more things opening. If that's going to happen more, then my sort of view may become more negative. But at the moment, I think I'm probably on the positive side, that there's more options. You know, I know a lot of the sort of business owners, and it's a really good thing for them. They're doing really well. The place is thriving. House prices are going up, which is clearly a positive thing. But I just wouldn't want it to become too far the other way. You know, I wouldn't potentially, I don't know what the, you know, sort of planning and that type of issue and licensing, but I certainly wouldn't want to see kind of like nightclub type places open, because I think that would certainly tip the balance right over the other way, and I would see it then as a negative.
We've seen, you know, a bit of antisocial behaviour. What would you say to those sort of people?
I'd say go look in France and look at these amazing seaside places where it's vibrant and full of people. What else do we want if it's not got lots of people here? Like an empty, deserted place with no commerce. It's not what I want. Not what I want for my kids, anyway.
So some people have accused this place of becoming a bit of a party central. What do you say to that, and how do you feel about that?
Well, personally speaking, I think that's probably a bit OTT. I've heard it compared to like Ibiza and stuff, and I've been to Ibiza myself, and yeah, it's nothing like Ibiza. Yeah, I think obviously there's a few more pubs, a few more drinkers now, but I think that might be pushing it a bit.
Charlestown's come on massively in the last 2 years. There is so much more down here than there ever has been. We've got shops, we've got a bit of retail here, loads of cafes and restaurants. Just brilliant people making this place a really amazing place to come.
I think it's an absolutely amazing vibe. Like, I've got a lot of friends up country who I've talked to about Charlestown, and they've come down and they're blown away by it. So I feel so blessed to be able to say I live here. Yeah, I'm so positive about this place at the minute. I can't say enough about it.
It's a beautiful little town. It's got so much character, from the beach all the way up to sort of like the church at the top there. You can't sort of walk down into it and not turn around and smile at all like the lovely little buildings around, and like everyone down here's got a smile on their face. You can't walk down the road without stopping and saying good morning to someone, and I love that about Charlestown. It's what I've enjoyed living in Cornwall for the last like 10 years or so. Every time you come down into here, it's a nice place to be.
In my opinion, one of the nicest places in the county. I mean, you know, often when I'm sitting at home during school sort of holidays and my wife is off, we'll sometimes almost have, not an argument, but a bit of a, you know, why do we need to go so far to visit somewhere when actually we've got this on our doorstep? So a place with a lot of history, beautiful, loads of things to do now, which is a positive, and I love living here. So yeah, that would be my description, I think.